Good afternoon, my name is Camden and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be going over my most anticipated releases for this winter season. In addition to dividing up my TBR seasonally, I've decided to release like a quarterly most anticipated releases video. I feel like this makes the most sense because for the winter season, we pretty much know all of the books that will be coming out, but for any later seasons, not all of the books have been announced yet or have had cover reveals. So for today's video, I'm going to be talking about the books that are being released in December, January, and February. And next video, I'll talk about March, April, and May. That being said, I have 20 some odd books to get through, so let's just hop right in. First book on my list is The City of Last Chances by Adrian Tchaikovsky. This book sounds really interesting to me, particularly because the synopsis of this book does not mention a single character. All it talks about is the city itself, which makes me wonder if the city is going to be almost like a character in its own right in this story. According to the synopsis, the city is being occupied and is on the brink of a revolution at the beginning of this book. Poverty and criminal activity are also running rampant, and the city is suffering under an ancient curse. I'm expecting this one to be quite a dark story with a lot of politics, and I'm almost picturing this city as like a Leningrad or maybe Paris in the time of the French Revolution. So I'm really excited to read this one. It came out on December 8th. The next book on my list is A Million to One by Adiba Jaigirdar. This is by the author of The Henna Wars, which is a book that I read a couple of years ago and really enjoyed. So I'm excited to revisit her writing. This story is following an actress, an acrobat, an artist, and a thief who are all planning to pull off a heist aboard the RMS Titanic. I've also seen on Goodreads that this one contains like a sapphic relationship, which really interests me, so I'm really excited to pick this one up. It already came out on December 13th. The next book on my list is In the Time of Our History by Suzanne Pari. This book is following an Iranian-American family, particularly the three women of the family. We are following Mitra, the oldest and more rebellious daughter. We're also following Anna, who is the sweet and obedient daughter who unfortunately has recently passed away at the opening of this story. And we're also following their mother, Shireen, who is feeling quite torn between staying loyal to her abusive, domineering husband and protecting her only surviving child. This book sounds like it's going to be absolutely heartbreaking, and the synopsis of it almost reminds me of A Woman Is No Man by Etaf Rum, I believe it is, which I read a couple of years ago and kind of dealt with a similar like abusive husband, multi-generational type of a theme. So anyway, I'm really excited to read this one. I think it's going to be a tough read, but an important one. And this one is coming out on January 3rd. Also being released on January 3rd is Song of Silver, Flame Like Night by Mieli Wen Zhao. This book is based on ancient Chinese mythology, and it is set in a kingdom that has been recently colonized and where magic has been banned. We are following two main characters throughout this story who practice magic and are a part of a resistance force that is looking to overthrow the current regime. This one almost gives me vibes of like Six Crimson Cranes by Elizabeth Lim, which I read recently and really loved. I am super excited to read this one. It sounds like it's going to be really great, and the cover of this one is like chef's kiss. The next book on my list is All the Dangerous Things by Stacy Willingham. I read A Flicker in the Night by Stacy Willingham earlier this year, and I'm not gonna lie, it was not my favorite, but I'm definitely willing to give this author another chance. This book is following our main character Isabel, whose toddler son went missing about a year ago. Ever since he went missing, however, Isabel has been unable to sleep except in very short bursts or if she like blacks out. Obviously, I feel like this insomnia element is setting us up to have like an unreliable memory trope and an unreliable narrator in this story, which I don't always love in thrillers, so I'm interested to see how this one will work for me. And I also believe that there is like a podcast element to this one where she is being interviewed by a podcaster who kind of gives her the creeps, and I don't know, things unfold from there as they usually do in a thriller. This one is coming out on January 10th. Another book that's coming out on January 10th is Hellbent by Leigh Bardugo. This one is obviously the sequel to Ninth House. We are finally getting a sequel after so many years. Obviously, because it's a sequel, there's not a lot of detail that I can go into on the plot of this one, but I just have to say I really need to know what happens to Darlington. So I cannot wait to read this book. The next book on my list is Now She Is a Witch by Kirsty Logan. I'm going to read you guys the description of this one because it's very well done. She dug her mother's grave in the poison garden so it would stay hidden. From the snowy winter woods to the bright midnight sun, from lost and powerless to finding your path, Now She Is a Witch conjures a world of violence and beauty, a world where women grasp at power through witchcraft, sexuality, and performance, and most of all, through throwing each other to the wolves. Lux has lost everything when Elsie finds her, alone in the woods. Her family, her lover, her home, all burned. The world is suspicious of women like her, but Lux is cunning. She knows how to exploit people's expectations, how to blend in the background. And she knows a lot about poisons. Elsie has not found Lux by accident. She needs her help to seek revenge against a man who wronged her, and together they pursue him north. On their hunt, they will uncover dark secrets that entangle them with dangerous adversaries. This is a witch story unlike any other. Does that not sound amazing? This one comes out on January 12th, and I am so excited for it. The next book that I'm excited for is How to Sell a Haunted House by Grady Hendrix. This book is following Mark and Louise Joyner, two estranged siblings who are being forced back together following their parents' death in order to fix up and sell their childhood home. The reviews on Goodreads for this one does mention that this may be for fans of Annabelle or Child's Play, so I'm assuming that there is going to be like a haunted doll aspect to this story, but that wasn't in the synopsis itself. That's just from the reviews, something that I gathered. But anyway, I'm still excited for this one, and it will be coming out on January 17th. The next book on my list is What Lies in the Woods by Kate Alice Marshall. This is another one that I'm just going to read you the synopsis for, because when a synopsis is like this well done, I hate to like mess with perfection. Naomi Shaw used to believe in magic. 22 years ago, she and her two best friends, Cassidy and Olivia, spent the summer roaming the woods, imagining a world of ceremony and wonder. They called it the Goddess Game. The summer ended suddenly when Naomi was attacked. Miraculously, she survived her 17 stab wounds and lived to identify the man who had hurt her. The girl's testimony put away a serial killer wanted for murdering 6 women. They were heroes, and they were liars. For decades, the friends have kept a secret worth killing for, but now Olivia wants to tell, and Naomi sets out to find out what really happened in the woods, no matter how dangerous the truth turns out to be. The next book on my list is one that I mentioned in my winter TBR video a couple of weeks ago, and that is God Killer by Hannah Kaner. This book is following a god killer, as you might presume from the title, a god that she ends up teaming up with, and a little girl who are all going on a quest together. The synopsis of this one is quite vague, but definitely has captured my interest, and I haven't seen a lot of people talking about this one, so I want to try and get some more hype around it if I can, even though I have a very small audience. But this one is coming out on January 19th, and I'll definitely be pre-ordering it if I can. The next book that I want to talk to you about is The Minuscule Mansion of Mira Malone by Audrey Burgess. This book follows a woman named Mira who runs a blog about a tiny and somewhat magical dollhouse that she inherited from her grandmother. Our other main character, Alex, ends up stumbling across her blog one day and realizes that this dollhouse is like a miniature replica of his childhood home. This book sounds like it's going to be very sweet and wholesome, with just enough of a fantasy element woven in to really pique my interest. Also, something that you guys don't know about me is that my father built me a dollhouse when I was a child, and I spent years, like up until I was like 13 years old, building little furniture and food and miniature items for this dollhouse. So I really have a strong love for like miniature things and dollhouses. So I'm really excited to see that element play out in a story as well. But anyway, this book is coming out on January 24th, and I am super excited to get my hands on it. The next book on my list is Episode 13 by Craig DeLuey. This book is following Matt and Claire, who are a husband and wife duo that hosts a ghost hunting reality TV show. For the 13th episode of their show, they are going to be traveling to Matt's dream filming location, which is the Paranormal Research Foundation. This place is like a huge Gothic mansion where paranormal experiments were conducted back in the 1970s. This one sounds like it's going to be very creepy and unsettling, and I've heard that the story is told through like a multimedia type of a format, so I feel like that's going to be super engaging as well. This one comes out on January 24th as well. The next book on my list is Spice Road by Maya Ibrahim. This one is an Arabic-inspired fantasy, and at the center of this story, we are following a sister who is just trying to locate and rescue her brother. However, based on the description of this book, I feel like this one is going to be set against such a richly woven backdrop. We have a magical system that is based on consuming spices and teas, and we have monsters, ghouls, and jinn that are lurking out in the deserts. I just have a feeling that this story is going to be so beautifully told, and I am super excited to read it when it is released on January 24th. The next book on my list is Sorry Bro by Talene Voskuni. I feel like 2023 is a year where I really want to start honing in on the books that I am super interested in and feel like I'm going to love, and not just the books that everybody is talking about. So I'm really planning to focus my energy on fantasy, thrillers, and horror, as those are my three favorite genres. But something I will never give up is like hard-hitting YA contemporaries, especially that feature characters from other cultures or queer characters, because I feel like those stories are always so well done and hit me right in the feels every time, and this story is exactly that. This book is following a Armenian American main character who has recently broken up with her American boyfriend. Her mother is super excited about this turn of events and is using this opportunity to try and set her up with someone from their culture. But what she does not see coming is that Nar will end up falling for an Armenian girl. I feel like this is going to be an amazing coming-of-age story dealing with struggling with your identity, both culturally and sexually, and I'm really excited to read this one. It comes out on January 31st. The next book on my list is Shield Maiden by Sharon Emmerichs. This is another one that I talked about in my winter TBR. I don't know a lot about this one, but I do know that it is a Beowulf retelling from the perspective of Beowulf's niece, and that's really all I need to know. I recently saw that this got picked up by Orbit Books, so I'm definitely going to pre-order this. I cannot wait to read it, and yeah, it is coming out on February 2nd. The next book on my list is Seven Faceless Saints by M.K. Lobb. This book is set in a world where saints are kind of like gods, and depending on which saint you decide to disciple yourself to, you will receive favors and riches and wealth. In this story, we are following a main character named Rosanna, whose father lost his life to the military in this country, and she is dead set on avenging her father and dismantling the corruption within this kingdom. This book sounds very fascinating. The concept is kind of unlike anything I've heard before as far as saints go, so I'm really excited to read this one. It comes out on February 7th. The The next book on my list is Such Pretty Flowers by K.L. Sarah. This one is like a gothic southern horror, and it is set in Savannah, Georgia. We are following a main character, Holly, as she is trying to figure out what really happened to her brother Dane. He was found dead and cleaved in two, but the police decided that for some reason this was a suicide due to psychosis. Holly does not believe this for a second, and she really believes that his fiance may have had something to do with it. The southern gothic horror element is what's really fascinating to me, and also the fact that apparently carnivorous plants are involved in this story. It just sounds so, again, original. Where are people getting these ideas? I feel like this one is going to make my little Mexican Gothic loving heart super happy. This one is coming out on February 7th as well. The next book on my list is Stone Blind by Natalie Haynes. This one is another Greek mythology feminist retelling, and it's the story of Medusa. Medusa has always been a very complex and interesting character to me ever since I started reading Greek mythology when I was a young child. So I'm really excited to see a story told from her perspective and by Natalie Haynes, who is such a great author. So I'm really excited to read this one. It comes out on February 7th as well. The next book on my list is Stone Cold Fox by Rachel Collar Croft. This book is following a main character named Bee, who learned from her mother how to scam and manipulate people. In order to finally put this lifestyle behind her, Bee has a plan to pull off her final scam, marrying the heir of one of America's richest families. Bee quickly learns that getting Colin down the aisle is going to be the easiest part of her job, and the real struggle is going to be keeping her past hidden and convincing his family that she is one of them. This book sounds super twisty and interesting, and I'm really excited to read it. It comes out on February 14th, which is a little bit ironic. The next book on my list is The Last Tale of the Flower Bride by Roshani Chokshi. Again, I'm going to read you guys the description of this one because it's so well done. Once upon a time, a man who believed in fairy tales married a beautiful, mysterious woman named Indigo Maxwell Castaneda. He was a scholar of myths. She was an heiress to a fortune. They exchanged gifts and stories and believed they would live happily ever after. In exchange for her love, Indigo extracted a promise that her bridegroom would never pry into her past. But when Indigo learns that her estranged aunt is dying and the couple is forced to return to her childhood home, the House of Dreams, the bridegroom will soon find himself unable to resist. For within the crumbling manor's extravagant rooms and musty halls, there lurks the shadow of another girl, Azure, Indigo's dearest childhood friend who suddenly disappeared. As the house slowly reveals his wife's secrets, the bridegroom will be forced to choose between reality and fantasy, even if doing so destroys their marriage or their lives. This book sounds so amazing to me, and it's almost giving me like gender-bent Bluebeard vibes, just because of like the bride and the bridegroom and the fact that her name's Indigo. I could be wrong though. Either way, I am so excited for this book. It comes out again on February 14th, and I cannot wait for it. The next book on my list is The Shadow of Perseus by Claire Haywood. This one is obviously another Greek mythology retelling. This one in particular follows 3 different characters, all who surround Perseus. It follows Danae, his mother, Medusa, his trophy, and Andromeda, his wife, and all of their perspectives on who he is as a man and if he was really the hero that he was cracked up to be in Greek mythology. I have not read from this author before, but I'm really excited to read this book regardless, and it comes out on February 21st. The next book on my list is The Writing Retreat by Julia Bartz. This book is following Alex, who is struggling to become a published author when she receives an invite to a month-long writing retreat. When she arrives, Alex learns that this is going to be less of a vacation and more of a competition, as it is revealed that whoever writes the best novel is going to receive a 7-figure prize. This book sounds like it's going to involve a lot of rivalry between the different authors, as well as possibly some paranormal elements within the mansion itself. So I'm really excited to read this one. It sounds like it's going to be a very wintry type of a story, and I love a story that focuses around authors as well. This one comes out on February 21st. And the final book on my list of most anticipated winter releases is She is a Haunting by Trang Thanh Tran. I hope I said that somewhat right. When Jade Wen arrives in Vietnam for a visit with her estranged father, she has one goal: survive 5 weeks pretending to be a happy family in the French colonial house Ba is restoring. She always lied to fit in, so if she's straight enough, Vietnamese enough, American enough, she can get out with the college money he promised. But the house has other plans. Night after night, Jade wakes up paralyzed. The walls exude a thrumming sound while bugs leave their legs and feelers in places they don't belong. She finds curious traces of her ancestors in the gardens they once tended. And at night, Jade can't ignore the ghosts of the beautiful bride who leave her cryptic warnings: don't eat. Neither Ba nor her sweet sister Lily believe that there is anything strange happening. With help from a delinquent girl, Jade proves this house, the home her family has always wanted, will not rest until it destroys them. Maybe this time she can keep her family together. As she roots out the house's rot, she must also face the truth of who she is and who she must become to save them all. This book sounds so similar to Mexican Gothic, which, as you all know, is one of my favorite books of all time. So I cannot wait to read it. It comes out on February 28th, and I am definitely pre-ordering that one. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I really appreciate each and every one of you. I'm so happy to say that as of yesterday, I finally hit 100 subscribers, which is so exciting. So I am planning a giveaway for you guys. I'll have more details about that next week. But in the meantime, please subscribe to my channel, hit the bell icon so you'll be notified when I post, drop a comment down below and like this video, and I will look forward to seeing you all next week with a new video. Goodbye.